What's up guys, I'm Brian Kelly with Kelly Family Fitness, coming to you today to talk about adductors. Now, if you are somebody that has either had a groin pull, or if you have some lower back pain, or if you've had knee, ankle, and hip issues, this video could be right up your alley. Everybody out there is talking about glutes, everybody's doing bridges, glute medius work, clamshells, and this and that, but the adductors are an antagonist to that and play a huge role in the health of your hips and lower back. I find that after over 20 years of being a full-time trainer, 75% of the people that I start working with are either too tight or too weak in the adductor group. And there's lots of reasons for that, but today I wanted to make a video to talk to you about how to get them longer and stronger. Now we're talking about basically four muscles that make up the adductor group. You've got the adductor brevis, the adductor longus, the adductor magnus, as well as the sartorius. Now there's not going to be a quiz on that, but there's a large amount of muscles that are responsible for basically bringing your leg toward the midline of your body. And similarly, when it gets out away from you too far, if those muscles are tight and or weak, you're going to be more susceptible to pulling them, to straining them. As well, when the adductors are really tight, you have to realize that they can actually kind of pull femurs, the long bones of the leg, inward and cause this almost like medial rotation. That's going to affect how your hips work. So your lumbopelvic rhythm, the way that your hips tilt with either too much forward or too much backward, can be affected by these muscles. So today I wanted to go over some soft tissue work, some good stretches, and some good strengthening exercises that I use on myself and on clients, and hopefully it helps you out with your workouts. First things first, we're going to address the soft tissue. So I've got a foam roller. You don't need anything super aggressive like one with knobs on it or anything like that. This is just a soft foam roller. It could be any length. You're going to be prone on the ground, leg out to the side, starting it out bent. And from this prone position, I'm going to start at my knee and work about 3 to 6 inches up my thigh. I'm going to make about 10 passes. From there, I'm going to reset it so it's more toward the mid part of my thigh, and I'm going to work mid part of my thigh up about another 3 to 6 inches. And I'll do 10 passes back and forth. Now, if you find a particular hot spot, you may want to spend a little bit of extra time on it. You can also kind of contract, relax into this, so you can kind of put some weight, like lift your opposite hip off the floor, which is going to load this top thigh. You can press into kind of a hot spot, hang out there, and you can even contract and then relax it to do your own little form of like an active release technique. And as you address those hot spots and things kind of don't seem as painful, we're going to go up the thigh a little bit further. So we're thinking like from above the last pass, all the way up toward the pelvis, right up into your business. And again, and this is where I particularly am tight. This is we're going to do another 10 passes here. And once we've done 3 different segments, 10 times back and forth at each spot, go to the other side. Okay, so step 2. This is where stuff gets pretty nasty. I've got a kettlebell. I'm going to go back, almost the exact same idea. Same position, prone on the floor, leg abducted out to the side. It's kind of rotated so that I'm really picking on my inner thigh, and I'm going to position it right on top of the kettlebell handle so that they are almost perpendicular to each other. And what I'm doing here is kind of looking for the hot spots. That's not too bad. That's a little tender. Now I can kind of contract and relax into that. And what you'll find is because the kettlebell handle is much harder and because it's much more pressure per square inch, you get a lot more direct action on that contract, relax, that kind of active release technique. And all I'm doing here is kind of, once I get onto something nice and grizzly, I'm just contracting into that 6 to 10 times, then maybe hanging out another 10 to 30 seconds and trying to get the area to calm down. And I'll try a new area. You can even work this almost out of like a frog type stance, almost across, where it's crossing that adductor and all the way up to where you can even kind of get into obturator internus and iliacus and some of the deep hip rotators. So that can be kind of here. And again, it's just kind of perpendicular to my inner thigh. And I'm just kind of starting out, kind of barely putting some weight on it and gradually trying to settle into it. This one has paid dividends for me. It really loosens up my inner thighs and has a really quick fix for the tightness that I get. From here, we're going to go to more of a lateral lunge position. I'm going to take a quadruped type stance on my hands and knees. I'm going to bring my one leg out to the side all the way straight. Toes are going to be pointed straight ahead and the whole foot's going to be flat on the floor. From here, I'm going to start rocking back and forth and put some motion into it. I could even take this foot and set it like a frog, but for me that's too much. But if you find that this is easy, you could always make that harder. I'm going to rock back and forth. I'm going to do 15 reps on each side. I'm trying to keep my chest up a little bit, trying to keep a little bit of arch in my lower back. My abs are pulled in tight and braced. My knee is locked, and I'm just rocking back and forth. Now, if I notice that on one side I'm much tighter than I am on another, I'm a big believer in uneven stretches. In other words, if I find that one side is tighter, to do the same amount of stretches is only going to keep precipitating that same imbalance. So I think it's perfectly fine if I do 15 on my right and then go to my left and realize that my left is a little bit tighter, to do 30. I want to get both sides even, so I'm a huge proponent of uneven stretching if that's the case in your body. Last stretch today, and then we're going to get into more strengthening type work. I'm going to go back to this kind of hands and knees lateral lunge. I'm going to use the foam roller because for me, I'm a little too tight to get any kind of rotation with my hand on the ground. So I'm going to set up with my legs straight, my hands on the foam roller, and I'm going to twist away from this thigh. So I have my right foot out to the side, my right hand on the roller, and then my left hand is almost going to work a thread the needle where I'm going to come through, and then I'm going to try to twist my arm, my chest, and my trunk away from that straight leg. You can tell I'm really limited on my range of motion on this, and many of you will be too. Still a fantastic stretch. Even if you only get a little bit of movement out of it, we're going to do 15 each side. Okay, now we're going to get into some strength work. This first one is going to combine strength with stretch. So it's going to have a PNF component to it, where we get into an elongated position and we contract while we're in that position, and then we try to get a little longer into that position, or in this case a little bit deeper. So what I'm going to do here is set up a frog. Frog is going to be, for me, on hands and knees. Knees are wide, and you want to be wide enough that your heels can touch the floor. Okay? If your heels are up, try to spread out a little bit further, or even open your thighs up just a little bit more, your knees up a little bit more, and we'll see if you can get your feet, your heels flat on the floor. Now what I'm going to do on this is going to be more, I'll have to talk you through it because you're not going to see a whole lot happening, but I'm going to isometrically contract. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to pull my knees into the ground, almost like I'm trying to pull these mats together. And from that position, obviously you're not going to see a whole lot. Nothing's really going to move, I don't think. But it's going to force me to contract while I'm stretched. Generally speaking, with PNF stretching, I would tell you take a big breath, hold your breath, contract and hold for about 10 seconds. Slowly exhale and relax. Let the stretch settle in. See if you can go out a little bit further and then do it again. You might be able to do 2 to 4 different positions. depending on how you're responding, hopefully you can get out a little bit wider as you go. So the contraction's almost going to trick the muscle into elongating a little bit further as you go through your stretches. So, hands and knees, heels down. I'm going to brace my abs and I'm going to pull my knees down into the ground and towards each other. And then I'm going to relax. And I'm going to try to go just a little bit further. An inch, a half an inch, it's all going to make a difference on this. It does not matter, just try to make progress. And then again, I'm going to kind of hang out, give it a second, take a big breath, contract. Relax. And then I'm going to try to change position again. Woo! And then one more for me is going to do it. All right, I don't think I'm going to go out any further. I'm going to hold this position just a little bit longer. I can even rock in this position if I want just a little bit of movement. And then relax. Now that could be repeated. If you like what that did for you, you are welcome to do a couple rounds of that. For the sake of the video, I'm just going to do it the one time. Move on. I would consider that definitely a stretch, but also it's kind of starting into the strength work because we're getting those contractions and trying to shorten or at least tighten as we're elongated, kind of like a eccentric lengthening, I suppose. Okay, our next strengthening exercise is more of an isometric, though the bottom leg can be added to be a little bit more dynamic. I'm going to do a Copenhagen Plank. These can be done a number of different ways. I want you to find the version that works best for you. But generally speaking, your body's going to be perpendicular to the bench. You're going to be supported on one side on the floor. Your leg will be on the bench. Hips will be up into a type of a side plank. And then from there you can hold or add motion. Let me explain further. I like these at a T-stand. I like straight leg, the whole inside of my foot on the bench flat, other leg down below. I try to get my head and neck and spine all in alignment. Reaching my arm up, I come up and squeeze the bench with my bottom leg. Now I can hold this for 10 to 15 seconds. I can also do it adding some motion for reps. Now, some people don't like that T-stand. It's too pinchy on their shoulder. This will also work out a side plank. Same motion. Just remember, whether you have your hand or elbow underneath you to hold yourself up, you want it to be directly under the shoulder. If it's out in front of you, it's definitely going to be more pinchy. You also want to be thinking, push the ground away. Don't be in this shrug posture. It's going to be a lot harder on your joint if you're not active with this. Now, if those are both still too much for you, you can modify this. But again, we want our body perpendicular to the bench. So, trunk comes out at a right angle to the bench. So what we're going to do is bend the top knee. And again, either this kind of T-stand position or side plank will work. Hips are coming up and you can squeeze. And because I've shortened this lever arm, because it's closer to the fulcrum, it's going to be a little bit lighter and a little bit easier. This can be a good starting point for people when they first get started doing these Copenhagen planks. So if the first couple that you saw are not working, try that one. Just watch that you don't go parallel to the bench. A lot of times I demo this and then my clients will try to go this way, where their body is more parallel to their bench instead of perpendicular. Anyway, 3 sets, either 15-second holds or 10 to 15 repetitions. Okay, last exercise, I'm going to give you 2 variations. One is where I think a good starting point would be for you, and that is the lateral lunge. Lateral lunge is going to combine dynamic movement with the lengthening that we're looking for. So we would start out feet together, chin chest up, toes pointed forward. I'm going to step out long to my side. I'm going to try to keep my chest up, stick my butt out on the landing, and then push back. Now, we could do that with bar on our back or dumbbells at our sides. Though if you use the dumbbell option, I want you to straddle the knee and then push back. You can shift these side to side, though I find people are much more successful doing all on one side and then all on the other, because the transition from here all the way across tends to be really big on people's hips. So I think it's better to do reps on one side, reps on the other. Generally, I like lower reps on this, so we get a higher amount of concentration. I think on a motion like this, you could probably do 10 each side, upwards of maybe 15 each side. If you get 15 easily, you should probably add the resistance. If that is too easy, if you've seen that a million times, consider the Cossack Squats. I've even seen these called archer squats. I refer to them both ways in my videos. The archer squat, the Cossack squat, is that wide position, almost like a straddle stance. You're going to shift to one side and try to drop your butt to your heel. Now, if you try this one, if you've never done it, consider holding on to something like a sturdy squat rack. Maybe even start with a gymnastics ring, almost working it like a TRX, where you can kind of work on keeping your posture up as you drop back. I like to do them where I'm at in my workouts, where I like to do them without assistance from holding on to anything, but I do cheat this a little bit by propping my heels up. I slightly elevate my heels for this, and that's where the exercise works best for me. So what I'm going to do is just barely elevate edge of my heel on these 3/4 inch stall mats. I'm nice and wide, chest is up. I'll shift to one side, keeping this knee straight. Dropping down low, trying to keep my squat heel down. Push out of that. You can shift this one side to side. It's not as big of a range of motion. And try that Cossack squat. Now, I have people that are exceptionally flexible. We'll give them kettlebells, they'll hold it, they drop side to side. They're much more complete than those inner thigh hip rotators than I am. But we're all where we're at in our fitness journey, right? So you got to find what works best for you. If you haven't tried lateral lunges, that's a great place to start. If you try the Cossack squat, do me a favor, keep the reps down. I don't feel like you need to be able to do 15 of those in a row. That just seems like a lot. If you can do that flat on the floor, body weight easily, consider holding a little bit of resistance. I think these should be done more like maybe a 5 to 8 rep range. Either the lateral lunge or the Cossack squat could be done for 3 to 5 sets. They're great exercises, though. Get ready to be sore tomorrow. If you've never done those, it's gonna hit some stuff that hasn't been hit before. You're gonna be sore. If the stretches helped you and you have back pain, try them out on a regular basis, man. I mean, maybe if you stuck in there in this video and you stayed with me just to see what I had to say about the back pain, do that series of stretches. Get up, see how you feel. Do those 3-4 times a week. They may really help you down the road. Gradually, you can integrate the strength work too. I think they go hand in hand, though we don't want to loosen you up and then tighten you right back up. So maybe get them longer and then get them stronger. If you're just looking to kind of improve your lower body training, I think once or twice a week is plenty. I think the stretches and the strengthening exercises kind of go hand in hand, but if the stretches are easy, you could definitely bypass those and go right into the strength work. They're great to do before a squat session. And by the way, you could even use squats and deadlifts as an inner thigh strengthener. I mean, there's no reason that a sumo stance on either of those into a nice range of motion wouldn't get just as much, if not more, action on the inner thigh. Personally, I don't like heavy weight on my back in a deep motion in a big stretch. That just seems like a train wreck waiting to happen. I like my squats to be a little bit less threatening than that. But you may find that that's the better way for you to go. I hope you liked what we talked about today. Consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Leave any comments down below and I will respond. Have a great day.